The deep space research ship Orelin moved slowly through the quiet part of the galaxy. Its silver hull shone under the faraway stars, and its long wings carried hundreds of scientists from many species. Inside the ship, the air was calm, the floors were bright, and everything worked with soft lights and gentle sounds. The ship was a symbol of peace, study, and cooperation. Among the crew, one human engineer had recently become well known for his skill with machines. His name was Evan Cole, a man with calm brown eyes, short black hair, and a steady way of working that impressed everyone. Evan was not loud or dramatic. He was careful, focused, and always ready to help. He was the only human assigned to the engineering deck that month, which made him stand out a little more. Evan did not mind. He liked quiet places. He liked fixing things. Most of all, he liked working with people who respected science and order. That was why he enjoyed working on the Orelin. There was one person on the ship he respected even more than the others. Her name was Soraya, a tall, elegant alien woman from a species called the Valari. The Valari were known across many systems for their calm minds, graceful movements, and disciplined training from childhood. They rarely spoke more than needed. They rarely showed emotion on their faces. They valued silence as much as humans valued conversation. Soraya was a perfect example of her people. She moved like flowing light. She stood with strong posture. Her voice was always gentle and steady. Every engineer on the deck admired her work, and Evan admired her the most. He admired her discipline. He admired her kindness. He admired the way she stayed patient even when machines behaved in strange ways. Her presence alone made the engineering deck feel peaceful. Evan kept all those thoughts in his mind, never saying anything aloud. Humans expressed emotions easily, but Valari culture did not. Soraya and her people preferred distance and control, so Evan respected that. He never wanted to disturb her or cross a cultural line. Still, whenever she came near, he felt a small wave of warmth in his chest. On one quiet cycle, Evan was assigned to assist Soraya in repairing a large energy converter that powered one side of the ship. The converter was old and parts of it were starting to weaken. It needed careful work and steady coordination. Evan felt happy and nervous at the same time. Working with Soraya meant learning new techniques, but it also meant trying hard not to make a fool of himself. Soraya waited for him near the converter. She wore the normal Valari technician uniform, clean and bright. Her long silver mark, the symbol of her rank, ran down her right arm. She held her toolkit calmly, her eyes focused on the machine. "You are ready, Evan Cole," she said in her soft voice. "Yes, ready," Evan replied, trying not to sound nervous. The two of them started working. Soraya handled the delicate internal wires. Evan lifted the heavier plates and checked the energy readings. Everything went smoothly. Evan kept his thoughts quiet and focused. At least he tried to. After almost 2 hours, Soraya leaned forward to examine the last stabilizer ring. Evan stepped back to get more space. His boot landed on a smooth piece of loose metal he had forgotten to secure. It slid under his foot. Evan slipped. His balance vanished. His mind panicked. His hand grabbed the air. He made a small, startled sound. And in that exact moment, his inner thought slipped out of his mouth without permission. His mind had been thinking something he would never dare to say aloud. But the shock pushed it past all control. He said it clearly, he said it louder than he ever meant to. Soraya froze. Evan froze. The entire engineering bay, full of Valari workers and a few humans across the room, fell silent like a dropped curtain. Evan felt heat climb up his neck. His heart pounded in his ears. He wished the floor would open and swallow him whole. He did not even want to breathe. Soraya slowly straightened. She turned to face him, her expression completely unreadable. Valari faces were already calm, but now she looked carved from glass. Her eyes did not show anger. They did not show amusement. They showed nothing at all, which somehow felt worse. Evan swallowed hard. His mind screamed at him. "What did you just say? What have you done? Why did you lose control?" He had no answer. Soraya took one slow step toward him. Evan nearly stepped back, but his legs felt locked in place. Engineers nearby pretended to keep working, but everyone watched with the corner of their eyes. Valari culture was strict about personal remarks. Evan knew that. He had studied that. He respected that, and now he had broken it in the most clumsy way possible. Soraya stopped in front of him. She was a little taller than him. She looked at him with calm, deep blue eyes. You spoke directly, she said quietly. Her voice was not sharp. It was not cold. It was simply calm, but the calmness made Evan more nervous. I'm sorry, Evan said. His voice almost cracked. It was an accident. I slipped and my mind spoke before I could stop it. I did not mean any disrespect, truly. Saraya did not respond right away. She studied his face like she was examining a complex piece of machinery. Humans speak in such a free way, she said after a moment. This time was not free, Evan said quickly. It was careless. I didn't want to. She raised one hand gently, signaling for him to stop. I heard your words, she said, and I know their meaning. The silence around them deepened. Evan felt more and more worried. Saraya looked away for a moment, thinking. Then she looked back at him. You admire my form, she said simply. Evan's face turned bright red. He nodded slowly, not knowing what else to do. Lying would only make it worse. Yes, he whispered. But I meant no harm. Saraya tilted her head slightly as if his honesty surprised her. Harm? She repeated. No, it did not feel like harm. That confused him. Valari usually avoided any personal comment. They saw it as too close, too open, too emotional. So hearing her say she did not feel offended left him stunned. You are not angry? Evan asked quietly. Saraya looked at him for a long moment. Her eyes softened a little, almost too little to notice. I am not angry, she said. Only surprised. That single word felt like a small shock. Surprised? Not upset? Not insulted? Saraya stepped back and walked around him in slow, thoughtful steps. Evan stood still, scared to say anything. When she returned to face him, she placed her tools down. You spoke your mind honestly, Saraya said. Valari do not do this. We keep our thoughts quiet. We keep our feelings private. Yet you spoke in a moment of truth. Evan did not know if that was good or bad. I am unsure how to respond, Saraya admitted. Your words were unexpected, Evan nodded. I'm sorry if they bothered you. They did not bother me, she said softly. That made Evan look up in surprise. Saraya continued, her voice almost thoughtful. Perhaps, she said. I wish to understand why a human expresses such thoughts with such meaning. Evan blinked. Meaning? Yes, Saraya said. Your voice carried meaning. I felt it. Evan suddenly understood that this moment was not simple for her. In her culture, emotions were hidden. Honesty about another person was rare. So his accidental words were not just startling, they were something new for her. The entire engineering deck still listened, pretending they were not. Saraya looked at him one last time. We will continue this conversation later, she said calmly. Not here. Then she turned and walked away, leaving Evan standing there with his heart racing and his mind spinning. Her reaction was nothing like he expected, and that was only the beginning. Evan did not sleep well after the accident in the engineering bay. He kept replaying the moment in his mind. The slip, the shock, the words leaving his mouth before he could stop them. Saraya's quiet, unreadable face, her calm voice saying they would talk later. He did not know what later meant. A few hours? A few days? Or maybe never? He told himself she was probably trying to decide whether his words were rude by Valari standards. Their culture was complex. They valued discipline more than emotion. A careless compliment could carry deep meaning to them. Evan walked through the silent corridors the next morning with a knot in his stomach. The Orellan always felt peaceful, but today it felt full of pressure. He wondered if Saraya had spoken to her supervisors. He wondered if someone planned to speak to him. He arrived at the engineering deck early, hoping to avoid too many eyes. He failed. Every Valari engineer glanced at him when he entered. They did not speak. They did not whisper. They simply looked at him with the calm, careful eyes of people who knew something, but chose not to comment. Valari did not gossip the way humans did. Their version of gossip was silent observation. Evan felt his cheeks heat up again. He pretended not to notice anyone and went to his station. Then he saw Saraya. She stood beside a large diagnostic panel with her hands behind her back. Her posture was perfect as always. She looked calm, collected, and completely in control. If she felt anything unusual, she did not show it. Evan took a slow breath to steady himself. He walked toward her. Good morning, he said softly. Saraya turned to him. Her expression remained peaceful. Good morning, Evan Cole. Her voice carried no anger, no coldness. That helped him breathe a little easier. We should speak, she said. Privately, Evan nodded quickly. Of course. She led him to a side chamber near the converter room. The door closed behind them with a gentle hiss. The small room was quiet, with soft blue lights and a round table in the center. It was used for planning or short meetings. Soraya turned to him. You said something that surprised me deeply, she began. I needed time to think. Evan nodded again. I understand. Soraya studied him for a moment before speaking. Your words were direct, she said. Very direct. Valari do not receive such personal remarks. We are trained from a young age to avoid them. It protects unity. It protects calm. I didn't mean to break your rules, Evan said. I know, Soraya replied softly. Your voice carried no harm. Evan looked down for a moment. I still feel bad if it made you uncomfortable. Soraya stepped forward, her eyes thoughtful. It did not make me uncomfortable, she said. It made me curious, Evan blinked. Curious? Yes, Soraya's calm eyes held his. Humans speak about others with ease. You describe emotions openly. You share admiration without fear. Why? Evan took a small breath. He understood now. She did not want an apology. She wanted to understand. That's how we build trust, he said. We show what we feel so others know we're honest. If we respect someone, we say it. If someone inspires us, we say it. It reminds people they matter. Soraya listened with full attention as if each word was a puzzle piece. You admire many people? She asked. No, Evan said quickly. Not like that.
Not in that way. Soraya blinked slowly.
Then why did your mind speak that thought about me? Evan felt the warmth in his face return. I was startled, he said. My mouth moved before my brain. But the thought itself, it was real. Soraya leaned her head a little to the side. Valari did that when they were trying to read deeper meaning. What did you mean by it? She asked quietly. Explain with simple words. Evan rubbed the back of his neck nervously. I meant that you carry yourself with strength and grace. You look balanced, confident, impressive, and I notice. Soraya held his gaze for a long moment. Her face did not change, but something in her eyes softened. You see strength in me? She asked. Yes, Evan said. A lot. Soraya looked away as if thinking. Valari rarely heard personal praise. They grew up in training halls focusing on calm movements, silent meditation, and strict self-control. Admiration for one person spoken aloud was uncommon. Hearing it from a human made it even more unusual. She turned back to him. In my culture, she said, compliments like yours are often kept hidden. They are seen as too forward, too open. I get that, Evan said gently. I really didn't want to cross a boundary. You crossed no boundary, Soraya said firmly. You simply walked into a place we rarely visit. That surprised Evan. The way she said it sounded almost poetic. Soraya continued. Your words remained in my mind last night. I tried to understand why you said them. I tried to understand why they carried weight for me. For you? Evan repeated quietly. Yes, Soraya said. I felt something move inside me. Evan tensed. He did not know if that was good or bad. Soraya stepped closer, only half a meter away. You said my form reflects strength, she said. No one has told me this before. Valari teach us to be disciplined, but not to see our own presence as something to admire. Well, Evan said gently, humans admire dedication. We admire people who hold themselves with confidence. You do that every day. Soraya took another breath, slow and controlled. I wish to learn, she said. I wish to understand how humans see the world, how you see others, how you see me. Evan felt his chest tighten with surprise. Me? Yes, Soraya said. I want to understand why your honest words affected me. They made me feel seen. It is not a feeling I know well. The confession was quiet, almost fragile. It held no anger, no frustration, only truth. Evan felt a wave of relief. She was not upset. She was not offended. She was curious. She was opening a door that Valari did not open often. I can tell you anything you want to know, he said softly. I'll explain everything as clearly as I can. Soraya looked almost grateful for a moment. I will ask questions, she said. Many questions. Your honesty is unusual to me, but I wish to understand it. Ask anything, Evan replied. Really? Soraya nodded. Then I will begin with this, she said. Do humans always speak their thoughts when they feel admiration? Well, Evan answered, some do. Some don't, most think it. Fewer say it. But when a human speaks admiration out loud, it means they trust the person or feel safe around them. Soraya's eyes widened slightly. Safe. Yes. So, she said slowly, you feel safe around me? Evan did not hesitate. Yes, completely. Soraya absorbed his words with deep thought. That explains much, she said. It explains why your voice carried warmth. Evan smiled a little. It did? Yes, Soraya said. I heard no fear. No confusion. Only truth, Evan exhaled softly. That's good. Soraya watched him for a moment before speaking again. I think humans are brave in a quiet way, she said. You speak with your heart even when your mind is startled. Velari are trained to silence the heart. That sounds heavy, Evan said gently. It is, Soraya replied. Maybe too heavy. Evan saw something he had never seen in her before. A shadow of emotion, faint but real. Not sadness, not fear. Something softer. Something that wanted to be understood. I hope I didn't cause trouble for you, Evan said. You did not, Soraya said. Your words opened something inside me. Something I would like to explore. Evan looked at her unsure. Explore? Yes, Soraya said. If you are willing, I want to learn more about how you see the world. How humans think. How humans build trust. Evan nodded without hesitation. I'd like that. Soraya placed her hands behind her back again, returning to her normal posture. We will continue this learning during our next shift, she said. Start reading about Velari traditions as well. If I learn about humans, you should learn about my people. Evan smiled softly. Deal. For now, Soraya said. Let us return to our work. I feel lighter after this talk. Evan felt lighter too. They walked back to the engineering deck side by side. The other Velari pretended not to stare, but the change in the air was clear. Something new had begun between them. Something neither of them expected. Something that would only grow stronger with time. The next cycle on the Orlan felt different. The ship moved through the quiet stretch of space like always, but something had shifted between Evan and Soraya after their private talk. Their understanding had grown wider, calmer and more open. They walked into the engineering deck side by side, not saying much, yet there was a gentle comfort around them that others noticed. Velari engineers watched them with careful eyes. They never spoke openly about what they saw, but their long glances and soft expressions showed silent interest. Humans in the room watched too, trying to read something that wasn't obvious. There was no dramatic change in behavior, only a quiet closeness that was hard to ignore. Evan felt a strange mix of nerves and warmth. Soraya had asked him to help her understand human expression, and she had offered to teach him about Velari discipline in return. It was a mutual exchange, something rare between their cultures. Evan felt honored. Soraya felt curious, and the gap between them grew smaller by the hour. They started the day by checking the stabilizer lines on the main generator. It was careful work, requiring slow movements and steady patience. Evan and Soraya worked together with smooth rhythm. She handled the delicate parts. He handled the heavy tools. Each step felt natural. After an hour of silent work, Soraya finally spoke. You read about Velari last night, she said, her voice calm. Evan nodded. I did. And what did you learn? She asked. That your people value quiet as a form of respect, Evan said, and that emotions are controlled so decisions stay clear. Soraya gave a small approving nod. Correct. I also learned, Evan added, that Velari rarely focus on personal praise. It is seen as unnecessary. That is true, Soraya replied. Praise draws attention to the self. Discipline directs attention to duty. Evan smiled a little. I guess humans do the opposite. We use praise to build connection. Yes, Soraya said. This is what I am trying to understand. Evan looked at her thoughtful eyes. How's it going so far? I find it interesting, Soraya said. Humans build trust with simple words. Velari build trust with consistent behavior. Both methods work, but yours feels warmer. Evan felt a small warmth in his chest again. I'm glad you think so. Soraya looked back at the generator lines. Your words, even spoken by accident, held meaning for me. This meaning remains. Evan did not know how to respond, so he nodded lightly. He did not want to push or assume anything. He wanted things to grow naturally. They worked in peaceful silence for a few minutes. Then Soraya asked another question. Do humans enjoy expressing admiration? Evan chuckled softly. Sometimes. Not everyone is open. But most humans feel good when they appreciate someone. It feels honest, Saraya considered this. Valari feel honesty through calm actions. But your way brings emotion to the surface. That's part of being human, Evan said gently. We think with logic, but we live with feeling. Saraya turned to him slowly. Feeling is not weakness? Not at all, Evan said. It's strength. It helps us understand each other. Saraya looked at him with focused attention as if she was absorbing every word. I will remember that, she said. They continued repairing the generator until midday. Then Saraya suggested they break for a moment. Valari rarely took breaks, so this surprised Evan. Are you sure? He asked. Yes, Saraya said. I wish to continue learning. A break allows open conversation. They walked to a quiet observation room beside the engineering sector. Large windows filled the space with soft starlight. You could see far into the silent galaxy, where small glowing lines marked distant clouds of dust. Saraya stood near the window, her tall form outlined by the pale light. Evan stood beside her. Humans admire beauty in many things, Saraya said. In nature, in sound, in each other's presence, yes, Evan said. It helps us feel connected to the world. Saraya lowered her gaze slightly. Valari were taught to focus only on structure, purpose, and balance. Admiration was not part of our lessons. Evan leaned gently on the window frame. Do you wish it had been? Saraya was quiet for a long moment. Yes, she finally said. The honesty in her voice surprised him. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was soft, calm, and real. I watched the humans on this ship for many cycles, Saraya continued. You laugh easily. You comfort each other when one is stressed. You use words to lift each other's spirits. It is a simple practice, but it holds power. That's how we stay strong, Evan said. We hold each other up. Saraya looked at him with gentle curiosity. Is that why you spoke your mind without control? Because you hold your feelings with less restraint. Evan laughed softly. In that moment, honestly, I didn't hold anything. My brain shut off and my mouth just went first. Saraya's calm eyes brightened with a faint spark of amusement. A risky system. You have no idea, Evan said. Saraya looked out the window again. Still, your words held weight. They felt sincere. They made me think. Evan turned to her. What did you think about? Saraya's voice softened. That perhaps I want to understand humans more deeply. Not only their words, but their hearts. Evan felt his breath catch. Saraya. She turned toward him again, her expression peaceful but warm. You do not need to fear speaking to me, she said. I am learning. I welcome it, Evan nodded slowly. Then I'll keep being honest with you, always. Good, Saraya said. I want honesty. Even if it surprises me. Their break ended, but their connection stayed warm. Later that cycle, the ship announced a new mission. They were to explore a strange region of space where signals became weak and unstable. It was considered safe enough for research but unpredictable. The Aurelian would send a small shuttle team to collect energy. Readings. Saraya was assigned as the technical lead for the mission. Evan was assigned as support engineer right beside her. He expected her to keep things strictly professional, but she turned to him with a calm nod. We will work well together, she said. Your presence brings clarity. Evan felt a small jolt of surprise. You think so? Yes, Saraya said. Your way of thinking helps balance mine. Her words were simple yet meaningful. The next morning, they stepped into the shuttle. The doors closed behind them with a soft hum. The engine started with a gentle thrum that filled the small cabin. Evan checked the systems. Saraya checked the navigation screens. When the shuttle lifted from the Aurelian, Evan glanced at her. You ready for this? He asked. Saraya nodded. With you here, yes. Evan felt something warm spread inside him. They traveled deeper into the strange region. The stars outside looked stretched like soft lights pulled across the dark. Energy waves flickered around them. The sensors began to blink with warnings. The signal strength dropped. Strange static filled the communication lines. Saraya frowned slightly. We are entering the unstable zone. Evan gripped the console. Systems are still steady. Should we continue? Yes, Saraya said. We will collect the data quickly. Suddenly, a strong pulse of energy struck the shuttle. The lights flickered. The screens flashed. The ship shook hard. Evan grabbed the controls. Saraya steadied herself and checked the power lines. A sharp alarm rang through the cabin. Saraya, Evan said, we lost the main stabilizer. Saraya narrowed her eyes with focus. Then we must repair it before the next wave. If we do not, another tremor hit them. Evan and Saraya locked eyes. They had no choice but to fight the crisis together, side by side. And in this moment of danger, their growing bond would face its first real test. The next morning, Armin woke with a restless mind. Yesterday's words still echoed in his head. He couldn't shake the memory of Layla's reaction. Her eyes wide, lips slightly parted, and a sudden silence that hung between them like fragile glass. He had only meant to compliment her courage and confidence, but somehow, his words about her figure had slipped out. Now he worried that he had crossed a line, or worse, ruined their growing friendship. Layla, on the other hand, was sitting by the large window of the cabin, sipping her tea. The soft sunlight filtered through the curtains, casting delicate patterns on the wooden floor. She stared at the distant hills, her mind replaying the conversation from the night before. Armand's words had surprised her, but not in the way she expected. Instead of feeling offended, she had felt an odd mix of amusement and curiosity. She had never seen him act so open, so human in his reactions. When Armand stepped into the room, Layla quickly turned her gaze to the window, pretending to read a small notebook. Armand hesitated, his hands tucked into his pockets, unsure how to start. "Good morning," he said cautiously, forcing a casual tone. "Morning," Layla replied, her voice soft but steady. She didn't look at him directly. Armand took a deep breath. I wanted to apologize," he began. "I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable yesterday. I was careless with my words." Layla finally looked at him, her dark eyes calm, almost unreadable. Then a small smile tugged at her lips. "Armin, it's okay," she said. "You didn't mean anything bad. I know that. You just spoke your mind and it surprised me." Armand blinked, surprised. "Surprised? Not upset?" "Not upset," she said firmly. "You're honest, and sometimes honesty is startling even if it's not wrong." Relief washed over Armin, but it was mixed with a strange new feeling, curiosity. "So you weren't offended?" Layla shook her head. "No, but I am thinking. Why do you notice these things about people? You're usually so focused on other things, your work, your projects, your ideas, and suddenly you comment on me like that?" Armin rubbed the back of his neck, unsure how to answer. "I don't know," he admitted. "Maybe it's because you're different. Confident, strong. I guess I noticed more than I intended." Layla studied him quietly, then laughed softly. It wasn't a loud laugh, but gentle and melodic. "You really are human, aren't you?" she said. Armin laughed nervously. "I think I am," he said. Though I didn't plan to prove it yesterday. The tension between them eased, replaced by a strange new understanding. They moved through the morning in quiet companionship. Armand helped Layla prepare breakfast, and they shared small talk about simple things. Favorite books, the way the wind moved through the hills, the sound of birds in the trees. Later, Armand suggested they take a walk outside. Layla agreed, and soon they were stepping along a narrow path through the forest. The air was fresh, filled with the scent of pine and earth. Sunlight dappled the ground as they walked side by side, but neither spoke for several minutes. Then Layla broke the silence. "Do you ever worry that people judge you for what you think or say?" she asked. Armand considered her question. "All the time," he admitted. "I try to be careful, but sometimes words escape me. And when that happens, well, I hope people understand my intentions." "That's fair," Layla said. "I think most people don't notice when words slip. They only notice if it bothers them, and I can tell you I wasn't bothered. I was just curious." Armin glanced at her, noticing the way the sunlight made her hair shine, the thoughtful expression in her eyes. He felt a sudden warmth in his chest, one that had nothing to do with the morning air. "Curious?" he repeated. "Yes," Layla said softly. "Curious about why you see things differently, about why you notice certain details. It's not something I encounter often." They continued walking, their conversation drifting to lighter topics, memories of childhood, favorite games, and small adventures they had once taken. Despite the previous tension, Armin found himself enjoying the ease of Layla's presence. She had a way of listening that made him feel understood, even when he stumbled over his own thoughts. After a while, they reached a small clearing. The grass was soft beneath their feet, and wildflowers bloomed in gentle clusters. Layla stopped and turned to Armin. "Do you remember the first time we met?" she asked, a faint smile playing on her lips. Armin chuckled. "Of course. You were furious because I accidentally spilled that drink on your notes. I think I apologized at least 3 times before you finally let me help clean up." Layla laughed, a clear sound that echoed through the clearing. "I remember thinking you were clumsy, but oddly charming. I didn't expect to see you again, but here we are." Armin's smile softened. "And here we are," he said, "though I didn't expect to accidentally cause tension about your figure along the way." Layla tilted her head, her expression thoughtful. "You know," she said slowly, "I think it's interesting that something so small can create such a strong reaction. Your words surprised me, but they also made me see you differently. Not in a bad way, just differently." Armin's heart beat a little faster. "Differently?" he asked, curious and cautious. "Yes," Layla said. "You're more open than I imagined. More human in a way that isn't limited to thoughts and logic. You react, you feel, and sometimes you speak without thinking. That makes you—" Real Armin felt a mix of embarrassment and pride. He had never considered that his slip of words could reveal something deeper about him. "I didn't mean to reveal anything," he said quietly. "You did," Layla replied, smiling. "And it's not a bad thing. I like knowing that you're human, with all the mistakes and surprises that come with it." They stood in silence for a moment, looking at the gentle slope of the hills ahead. Armin felt a sense of connection with Layla that went beyond words. It was in the way she listened, the way she smiled, the quiet understanding that seemed to flow between them like an invisible thread. Finally, Layla spoke again. "I think we should continue our walk," she said. "There's something calming about being out here away from everything else." Armin nodded. "I agree." They walked side by side, the air filled with the soft sounds of nature. Armin's mind wandered, thinking about the impact of words both spoken and unspoken. He realized that honesty, even when clumsy, could build bridges rather than walls. And in Layla's presence he felt a desire to be better, not just careful with his words, but more open with his feelings and thoughts. As the day wore on, they explored the forest together, discovering hidden streams, clusters of wildflowers, and ancient trees that seemed to watch over them. Layla's laughter rang out often, light and free, and Armin found himself smiling more than he had in days. The awkwardness of yesterday had faded, replaced by a shared sense of adventure and trust. By late afternoon they returned to the cabin, tired but happy. Layla prepared tea and they sat together, sipping in comfortable silence. Armin finally spoke, his voice gentle. "Thank you," he said, "for understanding and for not making things awkward." Layla reached across the table, placing a hand lightly on his arm. "You didn't make things awkward," she said softly. "You were honest, and I respect that. I like that about you." Armin felt a warmth spread through his chest. He wanted to say more, to express the feelings that had been building since yesterday, but the words caught in his throat. Instead, he simply nodded, grateful for her presence and her understanding. As the sun began to set, casting golden light across the room, Armin and Layla sat together, sharing quiet moments and gentle smiles. The bond between them had grown stronger, shaped by honesty, understanding, and a shared willingness to embrace the unexpected. And though Armin's slip of words had caused a brief moment of tension, it had also opened a door to a deeper connection, one built on trust, respect, and the simple beauty of being human. The morning sun spilled over the hills, casting warm light into the cabin where Armin and Layla had spent the past few days. The air was crisp, filled with the scents of pine and dew. Today felt different, though neither of them spoke it aloud. There was a quiet tension, an unspoken feeling that something important was about to happen between them. Armin stood by the window, watching the mist lift from the forest. His thoughts drifted back to the moment when he had accidentally spoken his mind about Layla's figure. What had started as embarrassment had grown into something unexpected, a closeness he had never felt before with anyone. He felt a mix of gratitude and nervous anticipation. Layla appeared in the doorway, holding a small basket of freshly picked wildflowers. She paused for a moment, taking in the sight of Armin by the window. "Good morning," she said softly. "Good morning," Armin replied, turning to face her. "Sleep well?" "Like a log," Layla said with a small smile. She set the basket on the table and walked over to the window beside him. Together they looked out at the hills, the quiet beauty of nature surrounding them. For a while they simply stood there, watching the sunlight dance through the trees. Neither spoke. Words felt unnecessary. There was a sense of understanding between them, built on shared moments, laughter, and even awkward honesty. Finally, Armin spoke, his voice quiet but steady. "Layla, there's something I want to say. Something I should have said a long time ago, but I didn't know how." Layla turned to him, curiosity in her eyes. "Go ahead," she said, her tone gentle. Armin took a deep breath, searching for the right words. I like you. Not just as a friend, not just because of your strength or your courage, but because of who you are. The way you see the world, the way you think, the way you make me feel. I like all of it." Layla blinked, surprise flickering across her face. For a moment she was silent, and Armin's heart raced with uncertainty. Had he gone too far? Had he misread her feelings? Then slowly a smile spread across Layla's face, a smile that was warm, genuine, and full of quiet joy. "Armin," she said softly, stepping closer. "I like you too. I have for some time, but I didn't know how to say it, and now, I'm glad you did." Relief and happiness surged through Armin, washing away the lingering anxiety of the past days. He smiled, unable to contain it. You really mean that?" he asked, a hint of disbelief in his voice. "Yes," Layla said firmly. "I do. You surprised me yesterday, yes, but not in a bad way. You were honest, and that honesty, it showed me something. It showed me you." Armin felt his chest tighten with emotion. "I promise. I'll always be honest with you," he said, "even when it's hard, even when I make mistakes. I don't want there to be secrets between us." Layla reached out, taking his hand in hers. "I don't want secrets either," she said. "I want this, us, open and honest no matter what." They stood there for a moment, holding hands, feeling the warmth of each other's presence. The forest outside seemed to hold its breath, as if witnessing the beginning of something meaningful. Later, they decided to walk again, venturing deeper into the hills. The morning air was cool, and the soft rustle of leaves accompanied their steps. They talked freely, laughing at small memories, sharing dreams and hopes for the future. The awkward tension of the past had completely dissolved, replaced by a growing sense of trust and connection. As they reached a small stream, Armin stopped and turned to Layla. "Do you remember the first time we walked here together?" he asked. Layla nodded, smiling. "Yes, you were worried about slipping on the rocks, and I teased you about being clumsy." Armin chuckled. "I was clumsy, but you helped me anyway. That's when I first noticed how kind and patient you are. I think I started liking you then without even realizing it." Layla's eyes softened. "And I noticed you too, though I didn't admit it. You were thoughtful, genuine, and surprisingly brave. Even when you said something awkward yesterday, it didn't change what I felt. If anything, it made me see you more clearly." Armin felt a surge of warmth at her words. "I never want to hurt you," he said, "and I'll try to be careful with my words, though I can't promise I'll never be clumsy again." Layla laughed, the sound light and free. "I don't mind clumsy," she said. "I mind dishonesty, and you've always been honest. That's what matters." They sat by the stream for a while, letting the sound of the water soothe their minds. The world felt peaceful, and for the first time in a long while, Armin felt completely content. Layla's hand rested in his, and the simple touch carried a depth of emotion neither of them needed to put into words. As the sun began its descent, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, Armin felt a boldness rise within him. "Layla," he said softly, "there's something I want to ask you, and I hope it's not too sudden." Layla looked at him, her expression open and attentive. "What is it?" Armin took a deep breath. "Will you be with me? Not just today, not just tomorrow, but for as long as we can. I don't want to hide my feelings, and I don't want to imagine a life without you by my side." Layla's eyes glistened with emotion. She took a moment, then nodded. "Yes, Armin," she said, her voice steady. "I want that too. I want us. Together." A smile spread across Armin's face, and he felt a weight lift from his heart. "Thank you," he whispered. "You've made me happier than I can say." "You've done the same for me," Layla replied. They stood there for a while, watching the sky turn deep orange and purple. The forest seemed to glow in the fading sunlight, as if celebrating their promise to each other. In that quiet moment, surrounded by nature, Armin realized how far they had come, from an awkward, unexpected slip of words to a genuine, heartfelt connection. As night fell, they returned to the cabin, feeling a new closeness between them. They cooked a simple dinner together, laughing at small mistakes and sharing stories. Later they sat by the fire, hands intertwined, enjoying the warmth and comfort of each other's presence. Armin looked at Layla, his heart full. "I'm glad I spoke my mind yesterday," he said quietly. Layla raised an eyebrow, smiling softly. "Even if it was awkward?" "Even if it was awkward," Armin said firmly. "Because it led me to you." Layla's smile deepened and she leaned her head on his shoulder. "Sometimes the most unexpected moments lead to the most meaningful connections," she said. Armin nodded, feeling a sense of peace he hadn't known before. He realized that honesty, courage, and a willingness to be vulnerable could create bonds stronger than anything else. And with Layla by his side, he felt ready to face whatever the future held. Together. The fire crackled softly, filling the room with warmth. Outside, the stars began to appear, twinkling like distant diamonds in the night sky. Armin and Layla sat quietly, letting the silence speak for them. In that moment, everything felt right. And though a simple slip of words had started this journey, it had led to something far greater, a connection built on honesty, trust, and the shared courage to be true to themselves. As the night deepened, they knew that whatever challenges or surprises awaited them, they would face them together. And in that certainty they found happiness, understanding, and the quiet joy of a love that had grown from the most unexpected of beginnings.